Hello, everybody. Welcome to Remember Who You Really Are. And again, this is a wonderful episode. I'm very happy to have with us today.
Thank you.
Our dear friend William. He's a School of the Heart teacher.
I am. Not doing so much of it, but I'm a teacher.
I know, but so much help, right, in the school in many different ways, and that's beautiful.
Yeah.
That's a
yeah. No.
So my intention, if you like, is to speak about how to do business from the heart. And Billy is the perfect person, I think, to talk about these things.
Okay.
So I would like maybe if you share with our people some of your story, your journey, right?
Okay.
And
all right. Well, my journey might sound a little 3D bragging. So when you're watching this and you're like, God, this guy's full of himself, just know that I'm telling my story. Very interesting. Well, let's start off. I'm going to be 63 in June. And I grew up in New York City. I was born in the Bronx, went to high school, graduated there. When I was a child, I had dyslexia, severely. And I didn't read my first book until I was 18 years old. My first book ever. I cheated all the way through high school. Cheated, never took a book home, never studied for an exam. I just looked on other people's paper and cheated. But my teachers loved me. And I ran track, and I was nationally ranked in track, so that's what got me into college. Back in the 70s, you didn't need a minimum score that your coaches could kind of play games and get you in. So I ended up going to Brigham Young University originally to run track. And when I was in college, they introduced me to a professor who taught me how to read in 2 weeks. And I learned to read 800 words a minute with 90% comprehension. And I just grew wings and flew. Because I realized at that moment, because I'd been told my whole life I was stupid, that I wasn't smart enough because I couldn't read. Yeah. I mean, I just couldn't see the letters. They just jumbled. And so once I learned how to read, I realized, oh wow, I really am intelligent. I really can think. And so, I graduated from college, got into corporate America. I was a broker, doing real estate brokers forever. And then I went to work for Blockbuster Video back in 1991 in San Diego. And I eventually got promoted within 6 months to run the whole Western United States. And I was recruited by Hollywood Video. If anybody out there remembers Hollywood Video. I started with Hollywood when they had 11 stores. And it was myself, the founder, and another guy. The three of us built, over the next 10 years, 2,200 stores. None of them are franchise, all corporate owned, 2,200 stores. We were doing $2 billion in revenue. I resigned after 4 years with the company, sat on the board of directors for 9 years, and myself and 2 other guys sold the company back in 2005 for $1.3 or $4 billion. So, and I proceeded to, in 2008, lose everything. Everything. Probably close to $10 million, just gone. And I had zero. And I was starting all over again. And that was a tough journey. But money was stolen from me. I had someone steal about $1.8 million from me, and which is an interesting story. I knew I would never get it back, so when I saw him, this is kind of being in your heart, I went up to him and I said, how much money do you have in your wallet? And he goes to his wallet and he says, I have $341. I said, give it to me. We're even. That was the exchange. $1.8 million for $341. And I said, I'm not going to allow you to control my life. We're even. Go on your life. I'm going on my life. And I just let it go.
Was a release?
Oh, total release. Just an amazing release on me. And so I was in corporate America and did that. I was the managing director of a pretty large company called JLL. But it was, it's like everybody else. I'm in my head, blah, 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 blah. And I started getting into yoga and started a practice of yoga. And then I went and took teacher training. So I learned how to be a teacher. And I went to Mexico with this guy named Brian Kest, who is a famous yogi. He's a big meditator. And he did Vipassana. And I actually did meditation when I was 17 years old. my coach said I was too hyper, and they wanted me to calm down. And they sent me to this guy in 1976 to meditate. I did sun salutations and meditation. So I understood it. And I always knew to go to my breath. It was for my whole life. But it wasn't a practice. It was just like, when I'm going to explode, I better breathe, kind of thing. So to fast forward, I understood meditating, and I signed up to do a Vipassana. And I was going to do 10 days of that. And I was a little nervous because I'm like, knowing me, could I even sit for an hour, nevertheless 10 hours? And I started just grinding away and grinding. And I read on a blog that said, if you can meditate for 1.5 hours, noble, so you don't move, not an itch, nothing, for an hour and a half, if you can do that, then you could do Vipassana. So it took me about 3 months to get to the point where I could do that, getting rid of the monkey brain, and I just calmed down, and I was able to do it. But soon thereafter, before I even got to Vipassana, I had this insane experience where I connected to Source, and I was embraced and engulfed in more love than you could. I literally felt like my skin was going to peel off. I had melted into the ocean, my consciousness, and I was with all of you. And the amount of love, you can't even describe it. It was beyond unconditional. It was so insane. And when I came out of that, I was literally it was crazy, but I was in another dimension. I was actually moving my hand, and my hand was still back here. And that just changed everything. And then that moment from there, I went and did an ayahuasca. I met Luke, and then I met you guys, and then I did that. And while I've been doing that, I've been in business, starting some companies and help creating companies. And I find that I'm not, the benefit in business is you can make clearer, concise decisions without any emotion. Because I can breathe through anything. No, there isn't a thing out there that could happen that I can't close my eyes and go inside and just calm the waters. And that's what I do, because I am your typical New Yorker, right? I'm loud, I'm obnoxious, I speak over other people, I'm rude.
Like, he's a sweetheart.
that is a program that's been embedded in me, and I'm just starting to peel that off. A lot of times I just put my hand over my mouth just so I can't speak. So I let everybody else. I should just, glue my hands to my lips so I can't speak. My kids, this is so true. My kids, when they would play sports, they would put duct tape over my mouth so I couldn't speak. I was that guy where parents would look at you and go, oh, he's here. So, and meditation and just my practice and being present. And that's kind of really the thing, is that what I really work on is, my meditation's in the morning, my meditation's throughout the day. But for me, I just want to be in the present moment as much as I can, because in business, there's, you're planning for the future, but what is happening is just a lot of noise coming in, and you need to decipher through the noise. And the only way that can do that is because all the answers are inside you. You can go inside, you can make the decisions, you can figure it out. You can do disconfirming evidence, right? Something's presented to you, probably the most valuable lesson I ever learned in business. I got my MBA at Kellogg, and which is the #1 ranked MBA school in the world, and has been for many years. And in that class, they did a thing called disconfirming evidence. And the idea is that, the ultimate example is that before the Space Shuttle Columbia was going to fly, they were saying we're having problems with the cold, and they brought in all the rocket scientists, literally rocket scientists, to come in and talk about, should we fly or shouldn't we fly? And there was a lot of political pressure to fly, there was funding and that, and they all held hands and sang Kumbaya, everything will be good. And they flew up, and we all know what happens, the people died. And when they did an investigation, they found out that one little O-ring, a 10-cent O-ring, took the Columbia down. And one of the guys that was the scientist that was talking to Congress or the Senate threw that O-ring in ice water and pulled it out. And while he was talking, he did that, and it snapped. If the scientist would have looked at, instead of when the weather's cold, if they would have looked at what happens when the weather's warm to cold and did a statistical analysis, it would have been 100% don't fly. So what do we learn from that? Don't get yourself in a room where everybody is holding hands saying, you're amazing, it's the most wonderful idea. Life is a big stadium. Get out of your seat, move to another reason, and say, if anything could go wrong, what will go wrong, right? It's disconfirming evidence. And if you can confirm that what you're doing is wrong, but we tend to, as a people, do that. And that's, that's part of the spiritual practice. Part of the spiritual practice is being able to step back and see things for what they really are, instead of the programs that are saying, this is the greatest idea, and everybody's filling your ego, and you're amazing, you're brilliant. And you get that, and then you start making mistakes a lot because you get away from the, this deceiving eyes. What if there's something that go wrong? What could it be, and what are the odds of that happening? And that probably the most impactful thing that's ever happened to me is just to be able to step back in a meditative mind and say disconfirming, right? Is this true? And by the way, this whole world of fake news, right? You see something and you're like, it's true. Is it really? I know you believe it's true. I know it feels really good to you, but is it really true? Look at the other side. Look at the other evidence. And you'll know, right? And so it's that thing, and there's just a lot of fake and all that stuff. But if you just apply the rules of disconfirming evidence, instead of just joining in with everybody, marching along to failure or to whatever it may be, it's like sit back and then disconfirming evidence. And that really is being in the present moment, right? Being in that present moment, looking at things very holistically, is that. Boy, have I just rambled on?
No, that was amazing.
Yeah.
And one of the things that I wanted to talk with you was, we have a lot of people that find, so you're in the 3D world, right? You're working, you're a businessman, you're doing, so many stuff, and it's a lot. You find yourself at some point in your life that there is something more, and I want to find that more, right? So you start the journey with it, within. How do you marry both? How do you marry business? Because I think it's a question that lots of people have. How can I do, my business? How can I earn my living? And at the same time, being in this space that I love, that I know, or being, in harmony with whom I really am, without, what did you find in your life?
So what I do is, I'm a really big fan of Ram Dass. And Ram Dass talks about being in hell with your heart open. Learning to be in hell with your heart open. And that's kind of business. You're going to have ugly people. People are going to try to take advantage of you, and that. And so just trying to be in that place. So most people, they have a difficult time getting to their heart. You start, anybody who's watching who's probably gone through the classes, you start in the big room, you either go down the stair, you jump off the cliff, you do that, right? But the more you practice, it's literally, you close your eyes and you go, bam, bam, you're in it, instantly, boom, you're in your heart. And it's okay, you can be in your heart, and being in your heart doesn't mean that you're a pushover. Doesn't mean that people can take advantage of you. I don't succumb to any real religions, but if you look at Hinduism, right, beautiful religion, beautiful, right? You've got different deities, all with swords, right? Why? Because that's the world. That's the world we're living in. So it's how
about morally?
What's
morally? Because that's another thing.
Okay.
Like what you feel in your heart, right? And then what do you need to do? Can it be together? Would it be successful in whatever we consider success in the business world or whatever? Did you find yourself having clashes in regards to what you felt that I had to do as an executive with what my heart is,
Well, yeah, think about it. You're working for a business, and what is the goal of the business, right? Depending on if it's a public company or not a public company. I've sat on the boards of companies, and you're looking out for shareholder value. So every decision you make is what's best for the shareholders. What's best for the shareholders doesn't necessarily mean it's best for everybody else, right? If you work for an oil company, what's the best for make money? But for an oil company, you're drilling, you're doing more, you're destroying the environment, you're lying about the environment, you're lying about the science. Why? To make money. So you've kind of lost your way, right? And so part of that is like, I wouldn't go to work for ExxonMobil, right? That doesn't resonate with me, that doesn't fit. So I think you need to have a company that resonates with you. You can't go into a business that's selling a drug that, whether it's opiates that's destroying people's lives, or a drug that helps anesthetize people for capital punishment. I'm just making things up, but like, if it doesn't resonate, don't go there, because you're really bastardizing your thing. But if you believe in the company, then it's easy to have a little bit more passionate in making what is the best decisions for you in that thing. But remember that it's still business, right? And so there's really that fine line, but no one in business typically, when you get to really high levels, it happens a lot. But normally, no one in the company is asking you to do anything fraudulently. Yeah. Like Enron, right? Those things happen a lot. Companies will play around with their balance sheets and their income statements and playing little games. Arthur Anderson was involved in that. So those things happen. Don't be blind to it. Just Wall Street, what's going on. They have things called dark pools, right? And they forward trading. I mean, there's just a lot of, and we see it. There's a lot of corruption. There's a lot of, it doesn't mean you have to be a part of that, right? And so it's just kind of being away from that. And people, I've seen it in business. People, when you stand up for yourself and for what's right, people respect that. The people below you, the people that work for you, that'll resonate with them. And the people above you will not, they'll know that you're the person that's willing to step up and do that. You're not in, you're not in on the crowd. If that company lets you go because you're that way, thank God, right? Thank you. If not, it then becomes, you now can have real influence on the business, on how it works, right? I mean, you and I were talking about SpaceX, right? Yeah. Right? And so if I ever went to whatever company, SpaceX, doesn't matter, right? I'm going to show up on who I am. And if what I do show up in the interview process doesn't resonate with what's going on, it's not the right job. And so it behooves us, when we are either interviewing a job or we're in a job, to take an inventory and say, does the mission statement, does what this company do, does it resonate with me? Is it something that I can latch on and get up every morning excited as all get out? But if you're stuck in bed going, I can barely get myself out of bed to move, something's not right, right? You need to make a drastic change. That's the universe telling you, right? It's the hero's journey, Joseph Campbell, right? It's, you get that call to adventure. It's that, it's the phone call, but if you're not willing to answer the phone call, then it's a sledgehammer, right? You're gonna get whacked over the head. It's gonna be a death. It's gonna be divorce. It could be COVID. It could be a lot of things, right? Where it's just like, wake up. Yeah. Wake up. What you're doing doesn't work. It's not working. And that's what COVID has done for all of us. We are a bunch of people running over a cliff the way we were going, right? 3D, materialism, all that, selfies, millions of selfies, and I'm important, like that, all stops, bam, instantly. Everybody going home, be alone, go inside, and two things happen. You either drink and do drugs, or you're like, I'm gonna sit and meditate and figure this out. My life is unraveling. This all of what's going on is beautiful, because it is a wake up, it's a call to adventure. And every great movie has it, right? Dorothy was taken away. Luke Skywalker showed up, and his aunt and his uncles, and it was burnt down and it was gone, right? Katniss, gets pulled in and now she's fighting it. Like, yes, we all, that's the journey. Every great movie ever made is the hero's journey. It's a call to adventure. We're living our greatest lives, our call to adventure. But you can either say, oh, this is unfair and this, and you can be that negative Nilly, or you can look at it and say, which I do, is it is what it is. I have no vote. Whatever unfolds, unfolds. Yeah. And just accept it. I have a wedding today and it's raining. It's taken 13.8 billion years for this weather to show up just today. And I think I have a say on how the weather should be? Really? And so you just let it, it's really just letting things unfold the way it unfolds. Yeah.
I've met a lot of people, and I have to say, in business, right, saying, doing something they don't love and like struggling through it and feeling fear. And I think that's the thing. How do you overcome that fear of survival? If I lose this, right, like you said, I lost everything. How do I overcome that? How can I overcome the fear of losing a job? How overcome of being truthful to myself?
Yeah, it's so there's a couple things on that. One is you talk about truthful. I love Ram Dass's comment, right, from Maharishi. Love everyone and tell the truth, right? So the truth is really important. And not just to others, but to yourself. And what happens is if you're in a job that you don't like, first of all, that was me. I was all about the money. So when I was working, there was a job that I quit, and I worked there for 5 years, and I was making 7 digits a year, and I was miserable, and I was so unhappy, and I had to just leave the job. I just quit. Nicely, but I can't wake up in the morning and do this every day. The money was amazing. The people I worked with, it just didn't resonate. And then I went, and did some other businesses that actually failed. I got into a business that failed, and I, lost at least $500,000. And I was doing the business with a very good friend of mine, and him and I both talked about. We moved together. His name is Rich Franklin. He's a former UFC world champion. And him and I were really good friends. I used to train him. I used to train fighters. And him and I lived together. And we talk all the time. And together, we lost $500,000 each. And we both said, if we had to do it again, it was the best time of our lives. I would do it again, knowing I would lose the money. Because it's not about the money. It's about the experience. And when you're so attached to money, that's a bad thing. The universe, I know this, but you've got to believe this. It's got to come from inside deep. The universe is abundant, insanely abundant. And if you understand that, you won't worry about money. After I left JLL and I started this startup with Rich, the business fell, I then was out of work and I could not find a job. I sent in resume. I couldn't find a job anywhere. And when I was literally down, I was selling, I had 2 homes. One was 7,000 square feet, the other was 10,000 square feet. And the economy was down from 2008, so I couldn't sell them. I was underwater. So I'd have lost money. So I just kept that going, and in the middle of that, I went through a divorce, right? So it's all coming, and no money, and I've got to still continue to give my wife at the time money. I had 4 kids, 2 adopted kids from China, my 2 boys, and I was selling gold, I was selling everything. Whatever I could sell, I would sell. And when I was at my last moment, I never panicked. Sure enough, I got an amazing job. And then I lost that job a year and a half later, and then I got a job working for Sprint as an executive at Sprint, and I was in so much debt. I had $300,000 in credit card debt. I was living on credit cards. And I got this job that was a big job, and literally within a year, I paid off all my debts. I was ahead, boom. So the point is, I never panicked. I did that, but I only did what I thought. And by the way, I left the job at Sprint. After 9 months, I was like, it was toxic. It was toxic. And I reported into the CEO. And it was toxic. And I'm like, I'm out of here. So, it's interesting. It's interesting.
One of the things that I saw, and I have to say, during, the last how many years we've been doing this, we've been traveling a lot around the world. We're meeting people that have made a lot of impact in the world, right? I consider you a person that has made a lot of impact on this world, right? And what comes back to, right, the abundance and everything is how you feel about yourself. I think there is that part inside of you, like charismatic people. And I consider you a charismatic person, right? Because of the energy, because of how you hold yourself.
Right.
Like, we've been taught, right, in life, when you're going through hard time, it's difficult, you have to bleed to make money, you have to, everything is a struggle and everything is that. But given your story, right, what I get is like, when you always know that there is appropriate thing coming for you, and you stay with that belief. It doesn't matter what you do, it doesn't matter in what state you are, things are going to change, right? But it's about the attitude, it's about the where you are, it's about not panicking, as you said, right? And everything will come. And I think lots of people today are in similar states because of COVID, because of all the things that are coming.
You're right. And the thing that's really interesting to me is that we're never going back. We're never going back. It's not an option. Right? It's not an option. Because our planet, we're always evolving. And there's a lot happening, not from a conspiracy thing, but there's a lot happening. A few years ago, I was fascinated by cryptocurrency. So I went back to school and got a degree from MIT in cryptocurrency and blockchain technology because I knew it was the future. And then I was asked to sit on the MIT's technology board. So I get to see a lot of technology. And let me tell you, oh my gosh, it's insane. What the technologies we have today would blow your mind. Blow your mind. And people just don't know about it. In the next 20 years, we are going to have a pill. And you take the pill and you can learn a fluent language or anything you want like that. It go into your brain and data. That is gonna happen. The technology is getting closer. They're having success with it at MIT. You have Neuralink, right, with Elon Musk, where they can read your mind because we know that everything's frequency. Lots of changes going on technology and all that stuff. And change is good, but in order for change to happen, you need to propel the positive and the negative, the yin and the yang. And it's, right, like a battery has a negative charge and a positive charge. That's what gives it energy. And so for us as a society, we're gonna have the positive and the negative. And you better be okay with that. And those two together are gonna propel us to a future, who knows? And it could be nefarious, it could be good, it could be what? But no matter what happens, if you can stay in your heart, it's like what Buddha taught, right? It's the suffering comes from attachments. I'll be happy when this comes, right? I want this and I don't want this. Well, guess what? That's not what happens. So the idea is when the things that you don't want, a loss of job, a death, probably a very personal thing, 2.5 years ago, when I was growing up, we lived in a 2-bedroom apartment with 6 people, 1 bathroom. And my youngest brother and I were thick as thieves. And we were roommates in college together. He worked for me at Hollywood Video. We were and 3 years ago he committed suicide. Really difficult. But, I could have laid in bed and been depressed and I chose not to. And we're going to have these next few years are going to be extremely challenging. The exciting thing about it being extremely challenging, a lot of negative means a lot of positive because everything's in balance. So as bad as things get, just depends where you want to look. You want to focus on the bad, or do you want to turn your attention? Because as things are going out of control, there's the counter side. There's beautiful things happening. Now the question is, where do you want your heart to be? You want to be focused on the negative? You want to focus on the positive. Look at the positive. I can tell you there's some amazing, beautiful things. I'm seeing people, my friends, people I never thought are transforming, are calling me saying, hey, tell me more about this meditation thing you do, right? People are seeking. That's the call to adventure. That's the adventure call. That's where change really happens. And we're in a moment in our planet where change is going to be radical, and it's going to affect every one of us. Now the question is, we could go for another lockdown for 6 months. We might have a basic income thing that everybody gets money put on there, which will cause hyperinflation eventually. When you have too much money and not enough goods being produced, because how can you produce goods if you're sitting home? So production goes down, prices go up, things are going to get really ugly. They are. But the question is, where do you want to focus? While things are getting kind of ugly, things are getting beautiful. And it's really where you want to put your intention. Where's your attention in your heart? So if, a lot of times when my monkey brain starts going that way, I either say a prayer or I go right to my breath instantaneously, because it's, I'm being sabotaged. My own body, right? My own body. I say this to people. I said, if you had a friend that hung out with you every waking moment, okay? And they never shut up, that's me. And they never shut up. And everything they said was negative, or let's say 70% or 80% was negative. What would you do? Well, by the way, some people have people like that in their lives, but most people would say, I'm getting rid of you. Guess what?
It's there.
It's there. That's our mind. So now the question is, can you shut this knucklehead up? Can you stifle him down? And the answer is unequivocally yes. But it's a practice, right? It's a practice. Like, you got to do it every single day. You got to meditate, and then you got to learn to breathe and breathe throughout the day, so that your life is just a norm meditation. Because I don't think, at least my belief is, I can get up in the morning and I meditate for an hour and a half or 2 hours in the morning. I get up at 4 and I just do my meditation. I don't know if that's enough. As crazy as things are, it's like I need to be in my heart throughout the day. I really do. A year ago, I didn't need to be. I was fine. I was like, all right, I'll say my meditation. I have a good day. It's a little this. Now it's like, no, because it's so easy to sanskara. It's so easy to just get you fired up, just fired up, mean, angry stuff, right? And it's learning to be the observer. So we're here in Naples, and we went on the beach, and the other day I was doing a running meditation, and I'm running, and there's a man, pretty big sized guy, I'm not that tall, so there's the guy there with his 10-year-old son, and I'm running towards, and his son walks in my way at the last minute, and I bump into him, and I grab him by the shoulders, and I kind of turn him. Well, his father turns around like he wanted to rip my head off. And I instantly turned around, and I was fired up, and I'm like, you want to do this, dude? I didn't say that, but I thought it. And I'm like, and remember, I trained fighters, so I'm ready to go, like instantaneously, because I grew up as a fighter. And my higher self, my consciousness was observing, because remember, I was running, I was doing a jogging meditation, and I stopped myself, and I said, who is this guy? Like, I want to know, who is this crazy guy? And it's like, oh, that's the old Billy. And I was like, okay. And I turned around, I apologized, I turned around and walked away, and I thought, wow, that was close, right? That was close. But you got to be conscious. You got to be awake, right? So I try to be very mindful of everything I do. Really hard to do, extremely hard to do, right? Because we're so programmed. We grab our phone, we check our email, then we check our Twitter, we check our, and it's just like we do it not even thinking, it's all subconscious, right? And so I try to break out of those habits, right? When I drive, I try to drive a different way. Work. When I brush my teeth, sometimes I'll brush my teeth with my left hand. It's very uncoordinated, but I have to focus. Or sometimes I eat a meal with my left hand.
So you challenge yourself.
I challenge myself to get out of the program. Right? I want to do something different. So, and it's not easy eating. You eat really slow and you'll lose weight because you just, it's spilling, right? I'm so uncoordinated. But by doing that, you have to focus. Well, otherwise, you're eating, you got the phone, and you're reading. I mean,
there is nothing.
There's nothing there. You're not in the moment. You're gone. And so I think in business and in life, because really, honestly, what we do in business, we don't have a business life, or we don't have a business personality, a way of being in business, and a way of being at home. If you're not the same person at home or meditating and other aspects, and we know, we have a problem, but inherently there are many somebodies. I was born and my parents said, well, we're somebody, we're gonna make him somebody, right? So I go to somebody school.
Yeah.
And they teach me to be a somebody, right? And who is that person? Not smart, you're funny. My mom always said that I would be a millionaire by the time I was 30. And I was. But she programmed me that because I was a hustler. I couldn't read, but I could hustle. I was a hustler, right? And that was the thing. So, I got this somebody programming, and we find ourselves, there's a different somebody. I'm a different somebody with my girlfriend. I'm a different somebody in business. I'm a different somebody when I meditate. We all have these personalities. We act a little differently. And what we really need to do is take those separate personalities, how you act. So you act differently with a bunch of women than you do with a bunch of dudes, right? You shouldn't. Should be, we should bring our beingness and that as a person. And so trying to mesh all that in is really hard because it's a program. So we got to undo the programs of who we think we are, right? That's all it is. Who do we think we are? I'm a business guy, and I'm and I'm a father, and right? It's all the program of it's the illusion. We constantly believe this is me. Who am I? It's real simple who you are. I know I've been there, I've experienced. We are all love. That's all we are. That's it. Nothing else. Nothing else. It's all love. It's the answer to everything. And when you experience that type of love, you think you love your children, or you think you love your pet, right?
Yeah.
You think you love yourself. It's not even on the same scale.
True.
It's not even on the same scale. When you experience this love, it is so overwhelming. And you don't have to be Yogananda or Buddha to think that. I'm an average guy with a brain that's going 1,000 miles a minute. You should have seen me when I was in my 30s. I mean, I would bounce off walls. I had a girl that worked for me, and when I was leaving the company after 8 years, she asked me to come in the room, and she said, "Can I talk to you privately?" And I said, "Yeah." She said, "I know you've got a drug problem, and you need to get off the cocaine." And I looked at her and I said, and I was Mormon at the time. I'm like, "I don't do drugs. I've never." And she had this horror look in her face, and she said this, "Mean this is you normal?" And she goes, "Your poor wife." That's me. And so it's just trying, but what did I do? I just got in there with all the intention and everything in my heart. And I just sat there and meditated earnestly, deeply, and everyone can have that experience. But you got to go through the fire. It was hell getting to that point. I would get on my knees and I would just want to rip my head off because I couldn't stop my mind from going. But I just said, I would Joe Dispenza goes, sit, and I would set my watch and I would say, I am not getting up for an hour. And that's how I did it. And I would stay there. Even when my mind was going crazy and I would just sit there for an hour. And every day I would just an hour and an hour. And that mind just got quieter and quieter and quieter. And now, it rarely shows up. Rarely shows up. Sometimes I got a thought and go, and I've got lots of challenges in my life. I have lots of, some of them. They're big. They're massive. Probably the worst challenge I've ever had, right? Forget about losing money. Forget about that. Forget about losing my brother. My youngest son died. Forget that. This is bigger than all of that. But I'm okay with it. I've surrendered to it. It is what it is. There's nothing I can do about it. All I can do is love. And then eventually it might come to me and it might not. But I got to be okay with whatever happens. Yeah. But I can't let it eat me alive and destroy me and send me into depression. And I won't do that. I won't give it that power.
That's beautiful. It's beautiful. It's I don't know. I don't want to try to describe it. So but you have a lot of persistence, right? Discipline. And that's one of the things we try to tell people today, that you don't do it once and then, it's right. I can't do it and it's over. You have to.
Yeah. people that believe they can't do it, they're right.
Yeah.
You cannot do it.
Yeah.
Abraham Lincoln said, whether you think you can or you can't, you're right.
Exactly.
And so, but that's the defeatist attitude. And I hear that. Because I talk to people at meditation. I was at the airport one day, and there was a group of people that were there, and I just started a conversation. And then I gave my number to this girl, and I was talking about meditation. And a year later, she did that. So, they're black, and the whole Black Lives Matter, and they were living in Wisconsin, and she reached out to me, and I just sent her some meditations and a book and this and that. And I hadn't heard from her, and maybe a month ago, she writes me an email or text message, and she said, "It's all love." I was like, oh my gosh, she got it. And we all have that ability, but we have to, if it were easy, everybody be doing it.
Yeah.
It's not. With hard work comes great rewards, right? And you learn to appreciate it. If I could just go into meditation and get it like that and not really struggle for it, it's like with our kids. When we make it so easy on our children, they just, I used to do this thing with my kids. If they wanted like a scooter, like an expensive electric scooter, whatever they wanted, something nice, they had to pay for half of it. Guess what? They never bought anything. And when they did, they really took care of it.
Yeah,
right?
They appreciated it.
They appreciated it. And that's kind of us. Sometimes the things that we work the hardest for, and go meditate on that. The things that we work the hardest for is the things we appreciate the most, right? And what better thing to really have to work for than meditation, right? Because when you get it, you get it. Yeah. And oh, by the way, every meditation's different, right? And there's no such thing as a bad meditation, right? You're in there. Some are amazing. I have some meditations where I'm just, poof, gone. And it's beautiful, and I love, and I don't even ever want to leave there. And there's other meditations like, it's okay. Wasn't that great? I did my hour. I'll stay an extra half hour. All right, I'm done. Yeah. And that's it. And then the next day I have like this breakthrough. So,
it's not right or wrong. It's the experience, right?
It's experience. And it's always a good experience, right? Because anytime I'm out of my monkey brain, anytime I'm into calm and I'm just focusing on my breath and I'm in my heart, But I might not have a mystic experience or that. But if you're always chasing the mystic experience, like I want to see out of my third eye and I want to levitate, well, good luck. Because you chase that, it never comes.
Yeah,
right?
You block yourself.
Yeah, you chase it, it runs.
Yeah,
right?
Of course.
Yeah.
Of course. Thank you. Closing up.
Okay.
If you have 3 advices or how many advices for people that want to do heart business, what would be your advice to people? How? Or what's the most important things that you have found throughout your whole journey?
I wish I had time to think about it, but my sense is like when you show up, well, first of all, I believe the most important thing you can do in business, the most important thing, is work on yourself. So if you're not where you want to be and you want to be another place, put together a program, a thing to get there. So that's the most important. It's not changing everyone's life, because the moment you show up as anybody who knows me, like the friends that I meet, like my friends that I grew up with, they look at me and go, "Who are you?" Like I am so different than the way I used to be. I used to be a very mean, I sweet, but inside, I could kill people. Like literally, like I was that guy. I grew up in the Bronx. I was a psychopath. I was not a good, I was yin and yang. I was constantly fighting that peace. So if the greatest thing you can do is work on you, when you show up, people will notice it. They'll feel your energy.
Yeah.
They'll feel your spirit. They'll know something's different. And they'll feel safe. And in an environment in business, what you want people to do is feel safe. There's some really interesting statistics about that. Do you know the one thing that people, when they go in that a business, their number one fear is being fired.
Yes.
And there are people that show up to work every single day,
Because
fearful that it's their last day, that they're going to be fired for whatever reason. So if you can make people, by the way, so I'm now going to get into business. In the business science world, it's not money that, you can research this, it's true. It's not money, it's appreciation. You tell people that they're doing a great job and you appreciate the work they're doing, you will get more out of them than a raise. Never give a raise until they ask for it, okay? But you do that. The other thing that I do, so you know I'm a body language expert. So so there's some great books on body language. One is by Janine Driver, You Can't Lie to Me. There's another one called The Knack, K-N-A-C-K, of body language. But Janine Driver trained me. She's brilliant. She was a former DE agent, interrogator. They call her the lion tamer. She's amazing. But knowing that, so I show up as the very best part of me. You'll notice when I was talking to you, my thumbs were up. You don't bury your thumbs. You expand, you don't close down. You have beautiful body language, right? So it's the body language, but your body language, actually 70% of how you show up, it's not what you say, it's your body language, right? So I work on my body language, right? How do I show up? And there's lots of interesting things. So one is I work on myself. Two, I work on my body language. And then when I'm showing up at the office, right, I really want to, sometimes I like at the airport, I'll try to go in and I'll say, hello, I'm in here. Are you in there? To my consciousness. So I try to see people as the soul, not what they do, but who they are. Because we know every one of us is pure. It's the story of the Golden Buddha, right? That the army was coming in and they were and the monks were worried, so they cemented over the Buddha. And for 100 years, they all thought it was a stone Buddha. And one day a monk is meditating over it and a little piece breaks off the finger and they find gold. And they spend the next 100 years chipping away finally to reveal the Golden Buddha. Well, the moral of the story is we're all Golden Buddha. We get this mortar, these programs that tell us who we think we are, and then we spend the rest of our life undoing who we think we are. And so it's that continual practice to do that. If you show up that way at your work, and as the same person, not different somebodies, but that person, business will go perfectly fine. You won't have to worry about it, because guess what? No matter what happens, you're okay with it. That's it. Isn't that the goal? Because for us to be there even in business and say, it has to unfold this way, it has to do this way, you're setting yourself a failure. Because in business, things don't go the way it's supposed to go. They never do, right? All great plans, because the idea is in business is you want to be able to do a head fake. If you're so regimented in what you're doing, especially with technology and innovation, you're going to get left behind. So you got to have that open mind, right?
Flexibility,
but you can do all of this with being in your heart, and that's really it's just showing up as the best version of you in the office. People will notice it, and by the way, people will love working for you. People won't want to quit. They'll walk through burning buildings and through brick walls for you when you have that connection. It's the connection, right? People will feel that. People are willing to really go to battle when they love you. But you've got to express your appreciation. So if you're out there and you're over people, first thing you do, you show up to work and you start telling people how much you appreciate them. Because now you give them the confidence that I'm not getting fired. Now, if somebody's getting fired, it's different. But it's that. And one thing I would do from a body language standpoint, practice this. Do this at home. It's amazing. You can either, and I think I did this with you a long time ago. If I were firing you, or I want to say something negative to you, instead of standing above you, I get below you. That's what doctors do. They sit that little seat looking up at the thing. When you're going to give bad news to people, you always want to be lower than them. Always. And practice it. Do it with your husband, your wife, your children, and say, put your hand on their shoulder, stand them and go, you know what, you're a wonderful worker, but I got to let you go. And then get below them and say, you're a wonderful worker, I got to let you go. the difference is earth-shattering. So when you're telling people you appreciate them, get lower than them. Sit by their desk and get on the knee and look up at them and say, do you know how much I appreciate the work you do? Wow, you know, I should say it more often, but you're doing an amazing job. Their day will be unbelievable. Yeah. Dropping $50 on them won't do it. That will do it. And I think that's the really thing, is just let people know how much you appreciate what they do. That, because when you rally your teams around you, that kind of thing, your beingness, you can, success is the only way out. Success is the only way out. Even if you fail, it's success.
Exactly.
Even if you fail, it's an excess, because suffering is mercy. I've learned more. I would do everything that went wrong for me in my life. I would do it again, maybe twice, because I learned so much. Success is mere repetition of old behavior, where failure is inspirational because it inspires change. So learn from your failures. Take those nuggets of those gold nuggets and diamond nuggets out of failure and use that to propel your life. That's really where it's at. It's not about the successes, it's about the failures.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Thank you all for being with us.
Yeah,
thank you.
You're welcome.